tragedy today for the community and for us here at KOMO after our news helicopter crashed near our building.
I heard this bang, this massive loud noise I can't even describe to you.
It just blew up. I mean, it just instantly. There was nothing could have been done.
As we mourn the loss of two of our colleagues, investigators search for an answer.
It's going to be a hard morning, hard day.
I'm Mary Nom. It has been an incredibly difficult day for the entire KOMO family. To be frank, our newsroom is reeling from what happened this morning, the terrible crash and the loss of good friends and coworkers suddenly taken away. We have seen our news chopper land and take off countless times here from Fisher Plaza, often heading to breaking news to bring you pictures and video. And I know many of you at home often heard the helicopter during my conversations with Steve. We chuckle at how loud it could be. Well, that was the sound of our pilot and photographer heading to the next big story. Our hearts are very heavy today, but we're committed to bringing you the news. Tonight, we have Team 4 coverage of this tragedy here at KOMO, from what witnesses saw to what this could mean for the future of helicopters in our city, as well as the outpouring of support that we have seen from our own community. First, the NTSB could have a preliminary report in as early as 5 days as to what caused the helicopter to crash at the base of the Space Needle this morning. The helicopter had just taken off from the launch pad at Fisher Plaza when it crashed into the street below. On board were our colleagues, pilot Gary Fitzner and photographer Bill Strothman. They were killed. 3 cars on Broad Street below were also hit. Federal investigators will look into a number of possibilities, including potential mechanical failure or that the rotor may have hit the tail.
We're still interviewing witnesses. Our investigative team are looking into the mechanical as well as the environment, as well as the pilot issues associated with this crash.
2 people escaped from the cars unharmed. A third driver, a 38-year-old Seattle man, is at Harborview Medical Center with burns to 15% of his body. The helicopter is owned by Helicopters Incorporated and leased by KOMO Television and King TV. The crash happened at the busiest time of the morning for people getting to work. Many people saw all or at least critical parts of the crash. KOMO 4's Tracy Vetter is live just outside our building with what those witnesses saw and heard. Tracy?
Well, Mary, at 7:40 this morning, the block around this intersection was filled with cars and pedestrians, many of those folks on their way to work, many of them on their way to work right here at KOMO, with no idea that they were going to witness a tragedy within our own family.
People on the street realized right away as the helicopter was lifting off Fisher Plaza that there were problems.
It looked like he tried to stabilize it, and he pulled off the helipad right about over us, directly over us.
Maybe when it was up 10 or 15 feet, I heard this thud.
And it made at least one full rotation. The nose pitched down and the tail went up, which certainly was abnormal.
We're down here on 4th Avenue, right underneath the Space Needle.
Witnesses say in seconds the helicopter broke apart on the ground, then burst into flames.
I heard the crash, boom, and it took like 2 seconds for the flames to burst out because it broke first, like it cracked in half.
It just blew up. I mean, it just instantly. There was nothing could have been done.
Inside KOMO's newsrooms, people watched in disbelief out windows and off balconies as the river of burning jet fuel rolled down Broad Street, torching cars trapped by the crash.
And there's just a moment where I have to do something. Can we go help them? And then you just see all the flames and there's nothing you can do.
Meteorologist Seth Wayne had just gotten off the radio when he heard a loud bang and ran to a balcony.
It's those sounds of the engines of the cars and the gas that's just ripping apart everything, and just literally you see explosion after explosion, and there was a trail of jet fuel.
And then the realization hits that the victims are part of our KOMO family. Photographer Bill Strothman and pilot Gary Fitzner worked for Helicopters, Inc., but flew every morning for KOMO and King.
Now knowing who the photographer was, I worked with him forever.
This is tough for everybody here. We lost colleagues today, so I think that's the most important thing for everybody to remember.
Now, the NTSB knows how important witnesses can be in a case like this, and they plan to talk to as many of them as they can. Reporting live at Fisher Plaza, Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 News.
Tracy, thank you. We want to tell you a little more about the 2 colleagues we lost today, photographer Bill Strothman and pilot Gary Fitzner. Bill worked for nearly 3 decades here at KOMO Television and was well known to many of the employees. After retiring from KOMO, he worked as a freelancer and also as an employee of the helicopter leasing company that operates the KOMO News chopper. He's survived by his wife, Nora, their daughter, Heidi, and his son, Dan Strothman, who is also a KOMO News photojournalist. They released a statement today saying Bill was a great man, a kind soul, a devoted husband, a loving father and brother. He was a friend to everyone who knew him. We are overwhelmed by the outpouring of support and condolences from the community. The pilot, Gary Fitzner, was also employed by the helicopter leasing company that operates Air 4. He was a familiar sight to KOMO News employees and always had a smile on his face. He adored his wife and 2 children. Gary truly loved to fly. His family says they appreciate everyone's prayers at this time. Our thoughts are with them tonight. Seattle's mayor, fire chief, and police chief visited the scene shortly after the crash and then came to Fisher Plaza. KOMO 4's Theron Zahn shows us how they were here to do their official jobs and offer their sympathies.
A crash almost too terrible to believe. So terrible it brought Seattle's top brass to the scene.
First, I would like to send my condolences to those that lost their lives today, and especially the KOMO family.
It's a terrible tragedy that's happened here to KOMO, but it's also happened as a tragedy for the city of Seattle.
Seattle Mayor Ed Murray has a personal connection to the tragedy.
I also didn't realize until I got in there that I'd actually worked with the son of the individual who's passed away down in Olympia as a photographer.
Seattle's fire and police chiefs say 2 factors kept this morning's crash from being even more deadly.
Response time was a huge factor for us, in that the fire department and the police department was there in less than 2 minutes.
The fact that this is you have a helicopter pad, there are no overhead wires, so some of the things we'd be concerned with in other areas of the city we did not have.
The mayor had several reasons for wanting to be on the scene this morning.
I felt it was important to come down to be sure we were coordinating our police and our fire and our transportation response, and I wanted to stop by and express my condolences.
He has a message for the families of photographer Bill Strothman and pilot Gary Fitzner.
I wanted to convey to them that this is a city that cares about everybody and recognizes that media is also public servants and put themselves at risk, and that there were a lot of people out there who were sharing their grief.
Theron Zahn, KOMO 4 News.
Governor Jay Inslee also released a statement from Eastern Washington, where he's visiting this morning. He writes, "Trudy and I send our condolences to their families and to the men and women at KOMO who, despite the personal impacts of this tragedy, have been reporting on this loss with impressive professionalism and grace. Our hearts go out to you. I know the people of Seattle and the people of Washington are keeping you in their thoughts. We also hope for the best for those injured." Several organizations in the Seattle Center near the crash site remain closed for the day. That includes the iconic Space Needle, the Seattle Center monorail, as well as the EMP. We're going to take a quick break. Our special coverage of this terrible accident continues when we come back.